folks. Welcome to the next episode of the Snowies Camping Show. Joined, as in every episode, by myself, Ben, changed it up, and my colleague Lauren. How you going?
Yeah, good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Quick episode today, customer question episode, something new as well to announce, something a little bit different. But before we do that, if you haven't done so before, subscribe to our channel via our YouTube channel. You can join in on the conversation on the Snowies Camping Banter Facebook group, and you can listen in on your favourite podcast app as well if you don't want to watch us dribble stuff about
just listen.
Things. Just listen. Yep. So we have done these short episodes for a little while now. It's been kind of good addressing customer questions, short, pointy customer questions. And so I can't remember who it was suggested, why don't you give away a free stubby cooler and a sticker?
I can't remember who it was either, and that's really terrible of me.
Should have come prepared.
Because maybe they should get a stubby cooler and a sticker because they suggested the idea.
Look, maybe we'll look back, and if
I know who you are. I just can't remember what your name is.
Sorry, but we'll be in touch.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
Yeah, we'll give the next person one, but the whole person who come up with a whole idea, which is one of those, why didn't we think of that moments?
Yeah.
We probably should reward them. So thanks for thinking for us.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got a stack. When I say a stack, we've got 3 here. There are a heap more down the side of the table here, but these are the best stubby coolers
in the world.
You'll come across. There's a little surprise in these two that we won't tell you about, but when you get it, you'll find out, and a bumper sticker as well. So we've got a few more customer questions in the fourth of these stubby coolers in front of us.
So essentially, if you, we basically put a post in our Facebook group.
I didn't actually explain how you get a stubby cooler.
Did you?
No, I didn't. I just
because I was like, did I zone out and not do that at all?
I didn't say it.
So yeah, if you chuck a question in our Facebook group, we've got a thread there, or even if you just post it on the wall, and it's a question that we talk about specifically in one of these episodes, then that's essentially how you get your sticker and stubby cooler. We'll be in touch with you, and also in YouTube as well, on YouTube comments too. Feel free to suggest an idea for future episodes if you've got a pointy question. But like I've posted in the Facebook group, the challenge is to come up with a question that we haven't already addressed. Yeah. And we've been running for 4 years now, so it sort of gets to a point where whenever there's a question, we're like, oh, that's a great question.
Yeah. So if you're sitting in camp, or it doesn't have to be in camp, wherever, talking to your mates about camping, caravan, hiking, 4-wheel drive stuff, and you're in an in-depth conversation, get your mates or yourself or whoever's there to chuck it up on our Facebook group.
Love that.
YouTube channel, and see if you can feature on our podcast.
Yeah.
Score yourself a free stubby cooler.
Are you going to draw
today? You
today?
can't release these two.
Or am I going to draw today?
Oh, we probably should draw because we're 3 minutes in and it's a short episode.
Supposed to be a short episode.
You can draw because I introed.
Did you? Okay, let me have a look.
There's only one, I think, today. We've only put one in so far. I think that's actually attached to
a person.
A person.
Which is not this one. I'm going to put this one back. Let's get a person one. Let's do this. Let's do a person one.
We'll do it properly. Okay.
We'll do it properly.
So hopefully this is of all the ones in there.
Edit this bit out.
Well, we've gone too far. I'm not going to do that intro again.
Yeah,
so
we're not.
Just
let's roll with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here it is. This is the customer one.
The question was initially asked in our Facebook group by Lindsay, which is an awesome one. So we've sort of turned the question a little bit more to encompass a bit more of a discussion around double stretches, so bar or no bar. Now, Lindsay was specifically asking about the Darche 1400 stretcher.
Which is the latest one that I know to come out. Yeah.
So I think it is a really good question, and it is definitely one worth talking about in this episode.
So you've earned yourself. Put his package aside here.
Yeah, that's for Lindsay. We'll just shove this over. Do you want you put it over there?
We'll post it over there. There you go. It's on its way.
So it's a great question because I think that up until Darche released their double stretcher without a bar down the middle, the only one that I'd really known about was a brand called Coolkind, and I hadn't actually experienced it, but there was quite a lot of feedback from people saying that it was quite good. I can't work out how it could be quite good personally, because it's made of canvas, and canvas obviously stretches over time. Like everybody's worn jeans or a pair of cargo pants or even a camp chair that you first get and it's stiff and then it relaxes, right? So there's only so much tensioning that you can do without a center bar.
And the Coolkind one had a lot more, I think it's quite heavy, a lot more infrastructure in tightening that fabric, because the key is obviously you've got, I can't think of the width, it'd be at least 1.3. I would think 1.2, 1.3 wide. So you've got a bar each side and then just a big hammock of fabric in between. So the challenge was pulling that hammock of fabric tight enough so it didn't sag in the middle, because you always drop down into the middle. I've not used the Coolkind one. I think that's probably the best of the best at the time. Looked like a bit of a process to set it up. Darchi brought out something probably similar. The only other solutions outside of that were the bar down the middle. So you could get double stretches, but it's basically 2 single stretches attached, and you get that kind of sagging each side of the bar in the middle. So if you put a double mat in, the mat's got to go over the top of that bar. And
I suppose we should probably preface this whole chat by saying, because there might be some people saying, well, what's wrong with the bar? And I think the reality is nothing's wrong with a bar in the middle. As you mentioned before, if you're using a double mat, then that goes over the top. And so you've got that hump in the middle. So we would more readily recommend that you use 2 single mats with a mat coupler, which allows the bar to sort of sit in between the wedge between those mats, right? And then you can both have a really comfortable night's sleep. But where you run into problems then is if you're snugglers and you both spend a bit of time on each other's side of the bed, or if you're somebody who wants a double, a platform for a double swag, or you just a singular sleeper and you want to use the whole width of your double camping bed or swag. And in that sense, it's not super comfortable.
Yep.
Which is where the need for, or the desire for campers to have a barless double stretcher comes in, right?
Yep. The Darchi one is, I would say, I haven't read the latest reviews. I did the review when it first came out.
Yeah.
We don't try and sugarcoat things when it comes out. It felt pretty good to me, but I did feel, I'm pretty sure in the video I said lying in there, you will inevitably sag to the middle a little bit. Physics are going to come into play. It's just how it is. Over time, even though it's a synthetic fabric, it's probably still going to stretch a bit. So it's going to get looser and looser. And I think that's been some people's experience, that you still sag to the middle. So in terms of a double stretcher without a bar in the middle, it's as good as I know of in that style of stretcher.
Yep.
You do still get that sag in the middle.
You do. And I think it's probably also important to know in the sense that they've been around for a while now, maybe about a year, do you reckon?
Yeah.
The Darchi one specifically?
About, I would say, yeah. Yep.
And I feel like we've sold a decent amount of them. Like we've sold a significant amount of them. And full disclosure, full transparency, people have returned them because they've found them too saggy, or they didn't meet their expectations and they weren't happy with the performance of them, in which case, there's not an issue with that. But the overwhelming majority of them have not been returned. So I think when you're sort of asking to be really specific about Lindsay's question on the actual stretcher, on the Darchi stretcher itself, I think it comes down to your understanding of the function of a center bar, and therefore what it means from a design perspective to not have that bar, and therefore what your corresponding expectations are of the product. And so I think if you have a really good understanding of what it means to not have a center bar and what the limitations then that gives you, then you're probably going to be a lot happier with the performance and the outcome of the stretcher, because you understand what to expect. Whereas if you don't fully understand that, or it's not necessarily that you don't fully understand it, but it isn't something that sort of clicked or that you considered before you purchased it, then I can understand why it potentially might be not what you were after. So yes, in terms of what are they like, I think classic Darchi build quality is great.
Awesome.
Design is great. Color is great. Materials are great. Performance is great if you're aware of those limitations. However, they have been returned by some people who just the sag of them wasn't suitable, and that's also okay. But it's not necessarily anything to do with the product itself. I think it's just the nature of what's trying to be achieved
Yeah, it's common
physics,
sense
right?
and the physics of it. It's not returned in any higher amount than other products where people are expecting something beyond that product's capabilities. That if you just stop and put some common sense to anything, you go, it's probably actually going to not perform in this sort of scenario or that scenario. Whereas people think, oh, I just expected it to perform in every scenario.
Yeah,
I can imagine you can probably get around this with if you put a mat on top and soften the mat. It's probably going to lessen that little bit of sag in the middle. You can still tighten it up underneath. There are straps to tighten it up to keep it tight. Maybe adjusting where the straps are tight to try and make it tighter in the middle as the fabric softens. So yeah, there's ways around it, and they're as good as they come for a double stretcher of that style.
Yeah. And I think if you are somebody who's, we get lots of inquiries from bigger fellas who love to sleep in a double swag just on their own. Ideal.
Perfect.
Great.
Because you can sleep across, like diagonally across something like that by yourself. Makes it super comfortable.
No issue.
Takes more room.
Yeah, but if you may be a couple and you like a really firm mattress and you like your own space, it's probably not going to be the best bet for you.
Yep.
But in that circumstance, we can sort of loop back to an episode we did a couple of weeks ago with Chris from Quest and their upcoming it's not really a stretcher, is it?
I don't know what they call it. It's a bit of a platform. So it's like two hard stretchers, I suppose. Like I think it's blow mold plastic. I haven't actually seen them. We know they're coming.
Looking forward to it.
Kind of like a camp table, but it's low down and long bed size. And there's two of those that sit together. So it creates a hard platform, a little bit like when you go on a hiking trip and you get somewhere and there's platforms that you can set your tent up on.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like that for making it for a swag. So it creates a really firm platform for a double swag or a single swag to sit on, but not something, it has a limitation in that it's not a stretcher that you would lie on individually. You need to put a swag or a mat or something on top of it. You can't use it by itself.
Yeah.
So they're addressing that issue, but they're not creating stretcher in the sense that the Darchi stretcher is a stretcher that you can just lie on by itself or put stuff on top. This is just a hard platform for a swag to go on top of.
And I do like if you haven't listened to the Quest episode where we talk about that, do jump back and listen, because Chris did talk about how the actual current concept of a barless stretcher and how difficult it is to be able to create something that's going to have that tension, like a reliability in terms of tensioning. So they've just completely revised the concept and come up with something totally different.
Yeah.
So that's something that's potentially worth looking at as well as an option. If the barless stretcher is definitely something you want, but you're unsure about that sort of sagginess or the softness of it over time, especially, then wait and check out Quest's new bed. I don't know what it's called though, but keep an eye. I'm sure you'll see it when it comes out.
I've seen some. I've seen pictures of it now.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's got into our system yet to come in, but it will be soon. But if you do want a traditional stretcher in a double style, then the Darchi one is as good as I've seen them come without the bar down the middle.
And also, if you are unsure, try and test it out. Like try and get into somewhere that actually has one that you can lay on, because I think that's going to be the only real way that you can be sure.
Going with your partner.
Yeah.
Have a lie down.
Yep.
Cool.
Well, thanks for the question, Lindsay.
Thanks,
that was a good one.
Your stubby cooler and sticker are on the way. They're sitting over there by the door.
Ready to be collected by the postman.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time for another episode of the Snowy's Camping Show.
Catch you later, folks.
See you guys.